My name's Tiffany Tran.
Okay, Tiffany, what happened to you on Friday?
So Friday I was arrested here at the plaza while they were trying to raid the kitchen. When I got arrested, I was slammed into a wall. My arms were bent all the way back to where I could touch my left shoulder with my right arm. I was handcuffed, thrown into the paddy wagon, and it was me, another girl, and then on the other side of the paddy wagon there was about 6 or 7 other guys. Once they shut the doors, there's absolutely no air. It's pitch black. The only light that you can see is maybe there's a hole in the ground the size of like a hole punch, and that was like the only air and the only light that was coming in. They drove around for a little bit, and then they took us to somewhere underneath a freeway overpass where we sat in the paddy wagon for an additional I didn't have any source of time on me, but 5, 6, 7 hours, still handcuffed in the back of the van, with the door shut, so no air still. It was getting really, really hard to breathe. I was hyperventilating and throwing up inside the paddy wagon. The guys on the other side, since there were more guys than girls arrested, they were sucking up the air faster than we are, and they were all dripping sweat. One guy had a heart condition and was actually passing in and out of consciousness, and when that started happening, we started screaming for help, screaming for medical attention, kicking the doors. When they finally would come, they would take him out of the van just enough for him to catch his breath, kind of wake up a little bit, and then throw him right back in. And since we were kept there for so long, this is something that was just repeating itself over this entire course of 6 hours or however long. We would just still keep banging on all the doors. When they opened the door so we could breathe, we would catch our breath, and they would yell whatever verbal harassments that they had at us, and then slam the door again. So after that fiasco happened, they started transporting us to Santa Rita. Once we were at Santa Rita, we sat in the paddy wagon for an additional 1 to 2 hours. And mind you, we had no access to water, food, a bathroom, anything like that. Finally, I was able to plead with one of the officers to leave the door open because I was having such a hard time breathing. And with the doors open, I was able to see them all just standing around in a circle, chit-chatting. Once they actually brought us into the jail, started the booking process. They separated the girls and guys, obviously. Carly and I were brought in. They took pictures of us specifically. None of the other inmates had this. They had a little digital camera that they took of us. They took pictures of us while they handed us these sack lunches. To my understanding, Carly went home that night, so I was the only girl that was kept from Friday till Tuesday. On our prisoner ID bracelets, your little inmate bracelets, on my bracelet they wrote an O and a K, the O meaning occupy and the K meaning keeper. So the minute I knew the K stood for keeper, I knew I was looking at some time there. I was eventually charged with obstruction and lynching, and the lynching charge carries a 2 to 4 year prison sentence, so it's pretty ridiculous what they were trying to get us with that day. I didn't know what I was being charged with. The cops never talked to us at all. I was never read my rights when we were arrested. The only reason I even knew what I was being charged with was when I had access to the phones and was able to call people on the outside, and I would have never known when my court date was. I was totally in the dark. So no thanks to the cops there. Inside Santa Rita, I was luckily placed into a minimum security, so even in blue suit, minimum security, Santa Rita is so overcrowded with inmates that I ended up being overflowed into the mental section of the jail, where you have less privilege than some of the other minimum suits or minimum security suits. And so I was on 22-hour lockdown a day. I'm supposed to have 2 hours a day to have access to the phone, take a shower, things like that. There were some days where they completely denied us of that, so there were some days that I was just in there all day, all night. I would like to talk a little bit about the condition of Santa Rita. It's absolutely disgusting. There is vomit and feces and urine all over the jail. They don't clean it up at all. The air vents all have piles and piles of dust and garbage coming out of them. The food that they give us is not food, it's plastic. The only thing I was able to eat over the course of those 4 days were oranges that we got once a day. So that was pretty horrible. once I was actually in Santa Rita, the correctional officers did the same thing that OPD was, with just the verbal harassments and the heckling, things like that. And that lines up with, after I talked to some of the other guys that were also released on Tuesday, that was also in line with their experience as well. So we went to court on Tuesday. All charges were dropped against us, thankfully. However, two of the guys are still being held in there, even though the charges were dropped. They're still being held on probation violations. So we're trying to, still try to get them out.